Welcome to the 2020 Global Peace Film Festival interviews. My name is Kelly Devine, the Artistic Director. Please join me and Nina Strike, Executive Director, in welcoming Isaac Brown, the Director of Feeding Survivors, one of our short films on our short films program. Please be sure to check out the Global Peace Film Festival website to find out how to watch this film and all of the rest of our programming, and learn about all other events by visiting peacefilmfest.org. And now, let's start the interview.
Sounds great.
Hey, Isaac. So can you tell us a little bit about your film?
Sure, Nina. Well, first I want to say thank you so much for including Feeding Survivors in your stellar program. You know, I was looking through some of the other short films that are being included, and we're an excellent company, so I'm really looking forward to seeing them. And just to tell you a little bit about Feeding Survivors, it's a short documentary. It's just shy of 8 minutes, and it takes a look at a couple of different nonprofits in the Northeast Florida region that are working hard to ensure that Holocaust survivors that are living in our area have nutritious food to eat, and also you know, dignity and a little bit of human kindness to live out the rest of their lives. One thing we were really surprised to find out is that there's over 100 Holocaust survivors in our area, and half of them live below the poverty line. So, you know, we were just so surprised that, number one, there are so many of these folks in our region, and number two, that they're still struggling, you know, and it almost seemed like a story that wasn't being talked about. So we're just really happy to be able to shine a light on the excellent work that these nonprofits are doing to really help these people.
And where?
How did you come to know about this story in order to tell it?
So we are collaborating with a nonprofit here in Northeast Florida called Searching for Identity Foundation. And one of the producers on the project, Stacy Goldring, she has worked with us to help really catalog stories of people whose families were impacted by this horrific event in our history. And so she really kind of has put the idea on our radar. And then when we were talking to some students who are involved with some of these other nonprofits, they mentioned, you know, how many folks are still struggling with food and things like that a lot of people take for granted. So it was a really kind of a serendipitous moment of several different circles kind of overlapping, and it worked out really well. You know, we reached out to the nonprofits, Jewish Family Community Services in Jacksonville, and also Feeding Northeast Florida, and they're partnering together to bring the food to these people's homes. And so when we talked with them, they were really excited to, you know, the program was just over a year old when we started production. So they were really excited to kind of get the word out about something that's still a relatively new program. And, you know, we were just so proud of the work they're doing. I mean, I feel like they're superheroes, that they're, you know, these are, the survivors have seen the worst of humanity, you know, and for them to be in their golden years and still worried about where their meals are coming from just seems unfathomable to me. So the fact that you have these nonprofits that recognize the issue and move fast enough to get it done and are bringing food to them every couple of weeks. And, you know, by speaking with a lot of survivors, it's so much more than just the meals. It's the interaction and, you know, the human kindness, the connection with another human being. And, you know, these folks look forward to that interaction tremendously. So, you know, it was just, the more we started looking into the story, the more we realized that it's incredibly important work that these nonprofits are doing, and whatever we could do to help kind of get that story out, we wanted to do. So.
And so you have filmed this before the coronavirus lockdowns and before all of the precautions. Have you been following, you know, what the organizations are doing to adapt?
So that's a great question. From what I can tell, especially with Feeding Northeast Florida, you know, their demand has gone through the roof. You look at, and you can see that around the country, when you look at these food banks and these events, what normally would have, you know, a modest amount of cars in line. Now you've got cars backed up for miles waiting to get food. And so I think it really shows that, you know, food insecurity is a huge issue, not just for Holocaust survivors, of course, but for large segments of the population. And over the last few months, it's only gotten more severe. So I don't know the details of how the day-to-day operations have changed with these nonprofits, but I'm sure they've been affected as all of our day-to-day operations have been. But I know that the demand has really skyrocketed.
Well, one of the, yes, that is a really sad aspect of the times, just across the board. But one of the, I did want to ask, since one of the central missions of the Gold Peace Film Festival and how we center our programming is to provide models for people to take away, or issues that they can, you know, pitch in and help with. So, you know, do you have any suggestions for people who are going to watch your film and possibly be inspired by it? What should they do, you know, to take this model into their hearts, or to, you know, to affect some change?
I think that's an excellent question. And, you know, there's a lot of different layers to the answer. You know, on a very basic level, you know, I think of Aesop's quote, no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. And you know, when you look at the state of our world right now, we could all use a little more kindness in our hearts. And I would like to see a lot more people waking up and thinking about how can they make a difference in their communities. And there are so many, you know, superheroes out there doing the work. You know, that's the thing people need to realize is you don't necessarily have to start from scratch. You know, do a little research about what is going on in your community and who are the helpers, and talk to them, because they know what needs to be done, and they will delegate if you make yourself available. So, you know, finding what matters to you and get involved, you know, because I think there is a little bit of brainwashing that has happened where people feel like, well, these problems that are facing the world are too large to make a difference. Like, what am I going to do? And I just think that's a huge fallacy, that we can all make a difference. And it may not seem big to you, but imagine that, you know, you survived the Holocaust and you don't know where your next meal's coming from, and a volunteer is bringing you a bag of fresh groceries and is going to talk to you for a half hour. You know, you made a huge difference in that person's day and potentially life. And, you know, it's all relative. So, you know, I don't want to preach and say that you should give money to these organizations. I personally think you should, you know, and the websites for Jewish Family Community Services is jfcsjax.org, as well as feedingnefl.org. And both of those organizations are putting food in the mouths of people that need it. And, you know, I have the utmost respect for the work they're doing. But if, you know, food insecurity is not your passion, there are so many ways to get involved with your community and make it a better place. And if you listen to that little voice inside, you know, you'll probably know what that is.
That's a great message. As you as a filmmaker, what's your next project? What are you working on now?
So I teach full-time at Florida State College at Jacksonville, and I do want to put a shout out there because this project was actually filmed in my net broadcasting class, and I'm so proud of the work that the students did on it. You know, they did. I was there to help them, and it was a real learning experience for them. And I was a little nervous at first that it was too ambitious of a project. Because there were other languages. I mean, some of the students were going to be editing for the first time. And so to like throw subtitles into the mix as well. And we had to get it, you know, some of the footage translated. And, you know, one of the students, and, you know, so in the back of my mind, I'm worried, is this too ambitious of a project to do with, you know, this class? And then on our first interview shoot, we sat down and one of the students started speaking Russian to one of the survivors.
Wow.
And it was just like, wow, you know, this is all it. The students just brought so much to the table, and I'm so proud of the work they did on it. And, you know, so To answer that question, really my focus is to finish this semester. We're right in the throes of the fall semester and everything's online. So we'll be teaching through the fall, but we're also working with Searching for Identity Foundation to keep telling stories about people whose lives were greatly impacted by the tragic events of the Holocaust, and kind of keeping those stories alive because they seem more relevant now than ever.
Indeed. Nina, did you have any closing questions or comments or?
No, I think that's everything, and we thank you so much, Isaac, for both submitting the film. We're delighted to be able to share it, and I hope a lot of people will watch it and will take your messages to heart. And we look forward to your next project.
Well, thank you very much, Nina and Kelly. We're honored to be part of such a wonderful program, and really appreciate the work y'all are doing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I just want to remind everyone that if you haven't seen this film, please do be sure and check it out. And if you have a question, on our website, we have provided a form for you to submit a question to a filmmaker. So I know we're remote and we can't be together, but we want to try as best as we can to connect you, the viewer, to the filmmakers and to these projects, and to make sure there's as much connection and engagement as possible. So we really appreciate everyone joining us, and we look forward to hearing from you through social media channels, through our comment forms, through our impact survey. And thank you, and we'll see you at the festival.